let's get back on with Portal. Now, I've already done a run through of Portal 1, and I feel like Portal 2 is just, I don't know, I've done it so many times I could do it in my sleep, but I thought I'd do something different. I'd run through my Portal Wheatley in Distress series that I made using Hammer. And I'll start off with the Hammer test map, since it does include...
Just a quick update on the attack of the killer ants. Apparently they tried to commandeer the entirety of our nation's sugar reserves in Kentucky. Big firefight at Fort Sugar now. Edge of your seat stuff. Anyway, that's as far as I made it through the movie before I fell asleep. So, if anybody's seen Attack of the Killer Ants, don't spoil the ending or you're fired. By the way, chariot.
Yeah, so that's Cave. Unfortunately, since I used only Hammer, I couldn't get rid of his voice at the beginning. So normally you'd grab this cube, yeah? But uncreatively, I just put an invisible barrier there that stops you from getting the cube. I could have done something better, but it was a test after all. So you portal up there, and then there's a corridor behind this wall. And use these vents to get around, pretty much. Little homage to Gladys there. And we've also got a reference to GLaDOS in here. I took it anyway. And then the cube, which we need to complete the test. It's been a while since I've played on the test map, so kind of forget where to go a bit. Chew. Then you place the cube on the button and go through the door. Bye bye GLaDOS. Also, I gotta ask, why does this happen? If anyone knows why that happens, please tell me.
Kavina Johnson here. It's come to my attention that one of you has sent a letter to the Supreme Council of Matriarchs accusing me of being a man. So, I want to assure both you and the Gender Regulatory Committee that I am indeed 100% all woman. And if you don't believe me, I swear to God, I will beat you. What? What? Sally Sue Gregg tells me that we will all exchange handmade sympathy cards discussing how we feel about the issue. All right, let's do some lady science.
Yeah, that's kind of a coincidental line to use, since, you know, I am trans. So the basis with this chamber is Wheatley has re-entered the facility and GLaDOS wants rid of him. So she's dropped us off on a testing course that leads to where Wheatley is. This route has been blocked off. Drop down here, drop down again, and as you can see, we're in another test chamber. And again, this was early stages of using Hammer, so these would have been doors, but yeah, I didn't figure that one out. The test is obviously broken, so there's no way to complete it, so all it's left to do is drop down here. I put a lot of time and effort into retexturing all these walls, even though if you just drop straight down, you see it for all of 2 seconds. You got different pipes leading off in different directions, and even the ceiling is redone as well. Again, 2 seconds. There's the tiles that should have been in the floor. And moving on. This was obviously, this was meant to be like one of the spawn rooms with the bed and everything, but I couldn't figure out how to find the bed in the Hammer editor, so there's no bed. here we are, first chamber. I believe it somewhat resembles the one from the test map, a little bit. Definitely uses the same panel. And through a tiny little missing floor tile, you get to this room. Yeah, lights were also a thing at early stages for this map, so lights are just these glowing orbs in the ceiling. And Wheatley got himself trapped in an observation room. So now going this way, we can put Wheatley through the gap. Actually, won't leave him there. And make sure to go here. And originally I had planned to portal into the room to get the cube, but turns out you can just grab it through the gap because it's big enough. And yes, I know Wheatley serves no purpose in these chambers because technically you could do the whole test without him. But if I was good at coding or whatever, I would have it so even if you complete the test, the door won't open if you don't have Wheatley with you. Because the whole idea of this game is, you know, or this mod or whatever, is to rescue Wheatley. Shaft leading to this chamber.
I sincerely hope you're not allergic to air. Our peanut dust ventilator broke in this wing, so the atmosphere is only 60% peanut dust.
And yeah, it wouldn't be Cave Johnson talking between test chambers, it would be GLaDOS basically complaining about we getting lost again and saying, right, I'll drop you off here and you should be able to get him. And, you know, it would be... And Wheatley would have lines too, I imagine. Alright, I really didn't have to go into much detail for this area, but I decided that I would leave a viewing point back into the other side of the test chamber. Just a little bit of exploration. Open door. This would be an office, it would be full of desks and chairs and computers and stuff, but again, could not find any of that stuff in the Hammer editor, so it's just a blank room, unfortunately. Right. Alright, so Wheatley has been kidnapped by turrets and is, oh boy, being forced to entertain them however he can.
Hello.
Alright. And yes, this is meant to be... What? You're still awake?
Who are you?
Ah, let's just... Oh boy.
Who's there?
You can just, like... Nope. Okay, you may have to kill two of them. Oh, wow! That was a bad decision. Okay, yes, you can just skip that area entirely to get Wheatley. There's the button. And, oddly enough, due to the design of the chamber, you might not see it from this angle, but on the other side of that wall is literally the panel that activates it. The laser field. Who walks into the laser field? So as you can see, this panel is now active, allowing you to do this. And you can even see the little viewing window. So grab the cube. Don't do that though. And then place it on this button. The orange portal here. Blue portal there. Open the door and done. Wheatley rescued again. And it's took us 14 minutes to do 3 chambers.
Hey, it's me, the real me. Chariots. Anyway, it appears the test chambers in our dimension are being tested on. Looks like another alternate universe Cave Johnson is using the same trick I am. If you see that one, will you punch him in the throat for me? But make sure it's him and not me, or you're fired.
Alright, so the idea was you're supposed to portal over there using the flip panel and grab the cube that way, but what I didn't count on was the cube being flipped off the panel, off the platform, by the panel. So yeah. And the story behind this chamber is GLaDOS is now updating all of her old test chambers to use the new panels. That's why these 2 panels are like taken off the wall and everything. Well, that's pretty much all there is behind the story of this chamber. She's updating the old ones. This one obviously can't complete it, so you have to look for another way out. And you can totally go past and complete the next chamber without doing this, but again, the whole objective is you need to rescue Wheatley. So you go down to this chamber, complete it, and rescue Wheatley. And obviously, since it's a condemned chamber, that's what it's meant to be, both doors are sealed anyway. Normally, oh yes, you would bring the cube with you because you'd think. Wait a minute, I'm confused. Oh, right, okay. So, obviously the official way to complete the chamber would be to bring the cube with you and press the button to activate the stairs. But I didn't want you to use the official way to complete the chamber. I wanted you to figure something else out. So if you did activate the stairs, the door would lock, so there'd be no way through. So instead what you do is, you just use the funnel as is to go straight through. So yeah, that was the idea. The idea was if you're new to the series, you would bring the cube with you, thinking you would still need it for this chamber, and you'd see the setup, so you'd put the cube on the button, but then the door would lock, so you'd be like, huh, what do I do now? Yes, I kind of this is an old series I did. What I did.
Chariots, we have a problem. That alternate Cave Johnson is using all our test chambers now. We have to take care of things here for a while, so you're on your own. Try to remember the tests so we can write it all down later.
And this is a prime example of taking stuff with you. This chamber right here, which apparently I've had a few complaints that the behind the scenes areas and stuff were less, I don't know, they weren't happy with the behind the scenes area on this map for some reason. Here we are. Oh, I did it again. not the ball. And I have had someone actually do it, because again, it seemed like the theme was to bring everything with you. After completing this specific chamber, you do not need to bring the ball. Just the cube and Wheatley. And then, as you can see, we're back at the original chamber. Press this button, activates the funnel, which was the broken part of the chamber because the cube was already there. So now that the funnel's active, you can complete the chamber. And once again, Wheatley is rescued.
We got you. Wait, is that the real you from our dimension? Chariots. It's Cave. Seriously, of all the infinite alternate dimensions, you happen to wind up randomly in ours again? Okay, just get through this test and be very careful not to mess anything up.
So ignoring Cave there, this chamber should seem pretty recognizable. And you can actually complete it this time. But because I was a bit more involved with Hammer at this point, I managed to put a door in, but the door doesn't go anywhere. So yeah. I need to figure out... Hang on, I forgot what I was going to say. Ah yes. Once again, it's just a case of rescue Wheatley. And this one is totally missable, unfortunately. But if I was good with coding, like I say, I would have it so you could not leave this chamber without Wheatley. The original exit's still broken, so you've got to go through the vents. See, you would go through here and you would see the exit and instantly go for it, and people were like, oh, where's Wheatley? Wheatley wasn't in that chamber. But like I say, technically this door should be locked because you don't have Wheatley with you, and that's why you go along this corridor. And down here.
Hello.
Ow. Ow. Of course I picked the wrong side. If I can get my new favourite portal mod tool to work with Hammer, I will include an Easter egg or reference to Wheatley in Distress in my new series. Oh wait, I don't need to go back that way. And yeah, we've got Wheatley. We can leave. Original exit to the chamber.
Chariots. Just thought you should know, that sick boy from a couple of Earths ago, we kept monitoring that because, man, that was riveting. Anyway, he didn't make it. Good try, though. We were virtually all pulling for him.
I had to include a companion cube chamber. It was difficult. God, did it take most of my brain power. Because I had to make sure that you needed the companion cube for every single part of this test. But it seemed like, as I was going through the process, you could get away with using other things to get through the test, and it wasn't working the way I planned it to. But eventually I came up with something that worked. And away we go. So the story behind this one, again, just Wheatley got lost between elevators and he ended up in this chamber. GLaDOS, basically, instead of making us go here, there and everywhere to try and get to him, she combined the chamber he was in with an unfinished chamber and then this main chamber to make one big test that includes custom built you know, ventilation systems or whatever you call them, the behind the scenes corridors. And you've got this one here.
Hello. Are you still
So again, you even need the companion cube to rescue Wheatley. And then, if we complete this chamber, then that's the door open. And keeping with the theme of companion cubes and fizzlers, there is no possible way to get as far as I'm aware.
Chariots. Damn it! Now we've got two testers here from another damn Earth. We had one of them cornered, then the other one just portaled him out of there, then they high-fived and went their separate ways. I'm gonna need you to test double quick to make sure we're messing them up as badly as they're messing us up here.
Right, again, ignoring Cave, although it is kind of coincidental that he wants us to test quickly, and this entire test is based around being quick. GLaDOS has finally found a way for us to get me and Wheatley out of here permanently. And as you can see, she has lit up the exit for us nicely. Again, if I was good with coding, that panel would be covered up at the start, so the only way to go would be this way. And you run into a turret. The story behind this turret is he's the most successful turret ever. He's had tons of kills, and he's just like basically, you know, a hero a hero among the turrets. And and then he meets Shell, of course. So then after you take care of the turret, the panel would fall off, revealing this escape. Now obviously we've already been in the standard 7x5 chamber that this test course consists of, and usually there'd be a 3x3 or 5x5? 5x5 chamber where you would rescue Wheatley. Which technically is this room here, because it's 5x5, and it is technically a test, but it's also part of the escape sequence as well, because after obviously defeating the turret, GLaDOS and Wheatley now have to escape now that they know GLaDOS is trying to kill them. And how convenient that this elevator happens to lead to the escape elevator. Yeah, the surface elevator, I mean.
Attention, chariots. There are at least 6 extra-dimensional testers here now. To be honest, they're not even really testing anymore. They just all portaled in, made a human pyramid, ate my lunch, and portaled out.
So yes, this may look like a corridor, but it's... what would you call it? Well, obviously there's the elevator to the surface, but you need a cube to get out. So on to test number 1, which, because we're closer to the surface, all of the old test chambers wouldn't exist up here, they'd be way down there. So this is kind of like a storage warehouse that happens to store all the old panels once we've got nowhere to put them. So again, it happens to be 7x5, so it's the setup for one of my test chambers. And unfortunately, after adding in this panel to rescue Wheatley, I realized that I broke my test, unfortunately. So this is the normal way to complete the chamber. And believe me, I'm disappointed, because I spent a lot of time making this platform right here for the purposes of flinging you across the room. To get the cube. Bingo. Test complete, you can move on. Now that was how the test was supposed to go. And now that's how you can complete the test, because of my idiocy. Totally defeats the purpose, because obviously in test chamber 2, it's one of the old chambers, and there's a pit, and the whole idea is you use forward momentum. So that's what I wanted this chamber to be about, forward momentum, hence the platform. But yeah. All because of this stupid little round sphere here, the chamber's ruined. On to test chamber 2, which is now opened up at this side of the corridor. And this one's based on the old, dishevelled chambers. That's not the word, is it? Abandoned chambers, that's the word. Now the light bridge looks like it's supposed to be used for something, but really it was only there for the purposes of, you know, keeping the cube from landing on the floor. Nah, nope, missed it. Oh. At least failing this one doesn't cause death. Chamber complete. And obviously that was 3 7x5 chambers because it was 3 chambers based on the 3 sections of the facility. Portal 1, destroyed, and Portal 2. And now the elevator to the surface is open. I know it's just a standard exit elevator used in all the chambers, but I figured the sign would make it at least, you know, make your imagination seem like it's a surface elevator, when in actuality it's just a standard exit elevator. And that seems to be the one that works consistently with Petty, because I've been having problems with Petty. Not Petty, B-mod. I've been having problems with B-mod. It's not working right. However, I've got it to work fine with this, even if it is a bit jittery.
To ensure that sufficient power remains for core testing protocols, all safety devices have been disabled. The Enrichment Center respects your right to have questions or concerns about this policy.
Yeah. So once again, this is meant to be the sort of spawn room where you have your bed and everything, but I don't know. B-mod doesn't have the option to put a bed in. It would be nice if it did, just for display purposes, but you know, whatever. Go through, and I wanted to get the cube.
And button-based testing remains an important tool for science, even in a dire emergency.
As I was saying, I wanted to get the cube bit out the way, so I put it in the actual spawn chamber, because this series is, after all, about the orb. And obviously this is basic introduction to orbs, so basic chamber, basic portal setup, no portal gun, and because this is such an old area of Aperture, almost, every chamber ends like this. There's not really a specific story that goes with this one, that's why I put the announcer in, and you pretty much just use generic sayings and phrases. But, yeah, I figured it could end
To
with...
ensure that sufficient power remains for core testing protocols, all safety devices have been disabled. The Enrichment Center respects your right to have questions or concerns about this policy. Cube and button-based testing remains an important tool for science, even in a dire emergency.
Oh, that's gonna become a meme so fast if you keep saying it. Right, so yeah, totally lost off now. Oh yeah, I might have it end with some kind of finale, but I want this one to be a particularly longer series, so I'm gonna try and keep the orb thing going as long as I can. Just outside of, like, even in Portal 1, it was never really used too much, so I wanted to kind of like make a series just about the orb. Right, I've only just done this one. How do I? Oh, yes. I decided to go with 3x4 chambers because the 5x7 was just, I don't know, it was starting to feel a bit too big. However, we do get a few 3x3s in with it, so it's kind of like a bigger chamber but split up into segments. Alright, hang on, I need to time this right. There. Alright, so now the orange portal is active over here instead, because as you can see, we need a cube to continue. So, the only cube in this entire chamber is back at the start. Ah, that way. I really like this exit. Alright, so obviously I haven't started using hammer with B-mod yet because for some reason for me it just doesn't work. So try to imagine that the last part of this chamber is like behind the scenes with like the, you know, exposed panels and everything, because I couldn't figure out how to make it look any more like that.
To ensure that sufficient power remains for core testing protocols, all safety devices have been disabled. The Enrichment Center respects your right to have questions or concerns about this policy.
The chamber itself is kind of
Cube and button-based testing remains an important tool for science, even in a dire emergency.
Ah boy, that's never gonna get old, is it? Right, so this would be where the exit is. But as you can see, it's kind of fallen apart. Exposed panels and everything. Yeah, so the exit would normally be here. And instead, right, again, imagine all of those as like, you know, grey panels and, you know, the behind the scenes stuff, because this is not a test chamber. It's not meant to be a test chamber. Right, so portal's active. Put a portal up there. Can go across here because unfortunately I couldn't find a way to make a broken catwalk. But the door doesn't lead anywhere. And again, this is meant to be a staff corridor, but again I'm working with basic petty with B-mod, no hammer this time, so it could be a while before I figure out how to make it look more like a observation room. I really wish the glass could have an option to be broken because obviously the panels slipped out, but whatever. Chamber's broken but the exit's open because it's the main part. And then there's a button. I couldn't figure out where else to put this button. I needed to include a second chamber. So I put the button here, but all it does is activate the moving platform. And now use the pipe. Oh, you can walk straight through that. And we are off to the exit. This is meant to be a service elevator, not test chamber elevator. But when I do have ideas, I will get to adding more chambers to that series. And hopefully I'll get it working with Hammer. And that's it for Portal.